All right, what's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of the JAXXON podcast. I'm sitting here with one of the greatest to ever do it on a bike, Twitch, the greatest co-host of all time. And we are definitely very thankful for everybody watching this. Just to kind of update you guys, we are about to hit 200,000 subscribers. It's celebrating our 1-year anniversary of the JAXXON podcast. Obviously, the brand JAXXON, being the #1 men's chain, has really been supporting the movement and allowing us to interview and kind of sit down and talk with some of the best motocross athletes and MMA fighters and skaters of all time. But the show would mean nothing and it would not be successful without the co-hosts like Twitch and Rampage and Sheckler and P-Rod. So big shout out to you guys. This has been a great year, 1 year, and we have a very big special announcement. If you go to the JAXXON podcast Discord, you'll see the new studio we're building, which is going to allow for some of the greatest content of all time. We're going to put my face on a punching bag. Rampage is going to be able to hit it. Twitch is going to be able to kick it. So we're going to have some cool content coming for you guys soon. But today, we have a very special guest. Twitch, I'm going to let you do the honors. I'm going to let you bring him in.
Mr. Austin Forkner. I've been watching you since you were just a little grom, like super little. So it's cool to see like your whole career and everything that's going on. And it seems like it's been a ride for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been, especially just this year, this year it's been it's just almost like whenever you don't think it can get much crazier. It's like, okay, I've had these injuries. I've had these things happen. It's like, it's got to start going good. I got to start having some luck at least. And then this year I have brain surgery. So that's just doesn't get much gnarlier than that.
You're like, when does this turn around and stay fun? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, it's been a ride for sure.
I feel like that's the gnarly thing about dirt bikes too. It's like you never know, but like every single day, any day could be your last day. You know what I mean? Like
that is what's crazy, and that's what I think about all the time. Is it's like there's no like whenever people try to compare moto to any other sport, you can't really compare it to any other sport. Any other sport, especially stick and ball, basketball, football, all the popular sports, like you're not gonna get hurt in practice usually.
No, yeah.
And if you do, maybe roll an ankle, maybe moto, every day we're on a supercross track or doing anything like you're inches away from going to the hospital or being seriously messed up.
Yeah, I say it all the time, like especially riding supercross with how many motos you guys are doing a day and how many laps you have to be perfect on every single thing that you touch on the course. It's like you look at some of these dudes, like no disrespect, but you see some of these basketball dudes, baseball dudes, and they break a finger or something and they sit out the rest of the season, where I'm like, I know dudes that are riding with broken bones, like breaking a collarbone, getting surgery tomorrow, riding 2 days later, like gnarly injuries, So it's like, I feel like Moto 2 is so underpaid for what we do and like the whole sport in general. 100%. Like, you know what I mean? Like with all the bikes that are being sold, all the gear that's getting sold, like just everything in general. It's like, I feel like we definitely got the shit end of the stick.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's just moto across the board, freestyle, racing, whatever. Like I feel like I don't know, because it's so expensive to get into. And that's what I don't know, how the money isn't better in it, basically. Yeah. It's like I get it doesn't have so much support, like it doesn't have, the Nikes and the Under Armours and stuff like that supporting moto, but still like a bike is what, 450s are like 14 grand now or something
but so is an e-bike, a mountain bike's like 14 grand too. I'm like, dude.
I don't know, like you would think that the money would be better for just moto in general, but that's kind of one of the downsides, is that like, at least if you're risking your body and everything so much, that if you're getting paid a bunch, it's like whatever. Yeah, whatever. But I mean, I'm even on the more fortunate end of like, I'm on a factory team and stuff. So I'm even more like paid. There's like privateer guys that are, what they get paid, they're spending to get to the next race.
Yeah. And they're trying to come up with more money just to make it there.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. So that definitely would be sick if it were better. But I mean, it's just another thing that makes the sport gnarly.
Like, could you imagine getting like a baseball or a basketball salary? You know what I mean? Like per year to ride moto. Like, and the stupid thing is we would go ride and do all this stuff for free. Like I know that's how I am. Like I love riding moto. Like I have more fun riding now because I don't have to do it. It's like, I want to do it.
That's what I'm like finding the more I'm hurt, or I guess now getting closer to the end of my pro racing career or whatever. Like, not that I'm really that close. I'm only 25, but that's just, like you start thinking about that. So, I'm like, I feel like after I'm done, I might even want to ride more. And I'm probably going to want to, like, that's what, I talked to like Trey Kennard, and that's what he said. Like after he quit riding, he actually got like faster.
Yeah.
Like he started like almost riding more and started like feeling more comfortable on the bike after he retired. So he was like, it's weird.
I feel like it's like when you're a little kid, like before you make it, like how much you're riding, how much you're practicing, how much you're putting into it. And then you make it and then it turns into a job. And then sometimes you're like, this ain't fun. You know what I mean? Like, because you have so much pressure, like, oh, we're paying you this, you got to win. We need titles. We need that. And I feel like once all that like stress goes away, it's like you can actually, you remember why you rode a bike because how much fun you have doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what does get kind of tough is I guess it kind of is if you're a pro in anything, you're doing it every day, it turns into a job. But that is what gets tough is just that it's like, dude, I have to go do this. I have to go do that. Got to go do the run. I got to go to the gym. I got to go ride. And the motos they can't, you very rarely just have, chill days. It's usually doing motos, doing 20s on a supercross track or 30+2s on an outdoor track. So it's
hitting the gym, then flying out to go race on the weekend. Like, yeah, it's gnarly. You guys' schedule, especially now with like all the SMX and then Motocross Nations and then outdoors right away. It's like you guys don't really get that much of a break.
It's crazy. That's I've said like, I don't think I've had a full season since I turned pro just from being hurt. But I'm like, if you're especially a 450 guy and you're doing like 17 supercross races and then a full outdoor season and then 3 supercross or 3 SMX races. And then if you're doing Motocross and Nations, like you have no time off. When you're done whenever beginning of October, whenever, Motocross and Nations ends, or even SMX, it ends like the end of September.
Yeah.
You got to start, especially if you have if there's like a new bike coming out and stuff, you got to start testing in October.
Yeah. Then you get back into your boot camp, start training, get ready for the
by
next
November
year.
1st, you need 2 solid months of like preseason, like especially if you're coming off any injury or whatever, but you need like November and December of like solid riding, strictly on the program and everything, boot camp basically.
Yeah.
But you start winding up for that in October. You start kind of, okay, let's get some early testing done with the bike, or let's just start to get back into good shape. So then whenever November hits, it's like, okay, strict days just for the next 2 months, basically.
With all your injuries, what do you feel like's been your worst one? You think it's been like the most recent one or like in years past?
Probably my worst one was whenever I did my, I ripped my like guts apart. I did,
gnarly, right?
Yeah. I did, I crashed in Salt Lake during the COVID rounds, the last one.
No one there.
And I ripped my spleen, just destroyed my spleen, basically. It was mangled. So they had to take that out. And I ripped like my pancreas in half, kind of, or like in like a third, I guess, because they had to take like 30% of my pancreas out too. And I had lacerations to my liver and my kidneys and all that stuff. That one was bad. And that one was just the gnarliest that I remember because I hit my head too. So I was concussed and I didn't know what was going on. And they took me to the hospital and I just remember going black. Like I don't know if I passed out. I don't know if they sedated me. I don't know what happened. But then I woke up hours later in a dark room, no windows, nobody in there. It's COVID, so nobody's allowed in there anyway. And I'm just like, I'm out of my mind, like concussed. And like, I think I'm going into shock because then like my stomach hurt so bad. And
could only imagine,
like
dude.
So bad, like the worst like flu that you can, it was gnarly and it was getting harder to breathe. And I was telling the nurse like, hey, like I know injuries. This isn't right.
Yeah.
Like we need to go into surgery. Like something's not right. She was like, no. We did scans on you. Like you're fine. You're going to be okay. Like and they were supposed to take me in. Come to find out, they were supposed to take me into surgery like right away, but they had like a gunshot and a car crash victim come in. So I was like 8 hours.
We'll put him on the back burner till later when we get to him.
And then I remember probably the scariest point I've ever had was I woke up and there was nobody in the room. It was dark. Didn't know what time it is. Didn't have my phone. And I threw up and it was just black. Just like blood, just black.
So gnarly.
And I threw up and I was just like, that's not good. Then I just like started yelling and door was closed. Nobody's in there. I didn't know, like there was nothing I could do. So I was just like, all right. So I just laid back down and just went to sleep all covered in throw up, blood. And it was nasty. So that was like when I was like, this is not good. Like I was like, I might I might die here. Like maybe I was just concussed, and that definitely was, and that wasn't helping. But I was like, this might be it.
I couldn't imagine waking up in like a black room and just being by yourself after that, just like tripping. Like,
that's what, and it was getting like, that's what I was trying to tell the nurse is I was like, it's getting harder to breathe the longer, like I can take more shallow and shallower breaths. Yeah. And then it was because I was filling up with blood.
Yeah, exactly. From all the internal bleeding. That's what I was going to say.
So I was like, dude. And then after the doctor told Riley or my mom or something, he was like, yeah, it's a good thing we took him in when we did. Cause it was getting pretty, he was starting to, they said they had to cut me and just for like 10 or 15 minutes, just to let everything out. Just drain me of blood before they could even start.
It's crazy. Like most moto dudes I know that like I know a lot of guys, like some dudes, like some dudes will get hurt and they'll like scream, or there's dudes that get hurt and you just like breathe through it. You're like, okay, what's wrong? Like I always like whenever I hit the ground, I'm always like, give me a second. Yeah. Let me figure out. Yeah. Okay. This is what I feel like wrong. You know, like, I don't know. It's crazy. And I feel like moto dudes can like self-diagnose themselves good just with how many injuries like everyone goes through.
I can literally call like what is torn in what spot of my knees. And at the last knee I did, I was like, my ACL's torn or it's stretched or it's something. Either way, it needs fixed. And I think I tore my meniscus on the bottom outside part down in here. And I may have even broke the top of like my tib fib. Went to the hospital, exact thing. I bone bruised and cracked the top of my tib fib, and I tore my meniscus on the outside, and my ACL was like partially torn and enough that it needed fixed.
It's out of control.
It's gnarly.
It was crazy. Like that's how I am too though. Like I can pretty much self-diagnose myself with anything now. Yeah. And that's whenever I crash, I'm like, you know, when you get the wind knocked out of you, a lot of guys are like, I've got it down now that I just lay there and I don't move. And I'm like, the more you fight it, the worse it is. Yeah. So it's like, I honestly just like tell myself, okay, hold my breath. Yeah. And I just hold my breath for like as long as I can till I feel like I'm going to pass out. And then I start to get it back. And I'm like, okay, but that's not good either, that you know how to handle, getting the wind knocked out of you. It's happened so many times.
Moto dudes are fucking strong.
Yeah, I mean, even Sheckler and P-Rod and Cheeto were all in here. Cheeto's one of the toughest dudes in the UFC. Sheckler and P-Rod fall all the time, and they know what it feels like to fall off rails. And they were like, yo, I give all the respect in the world to moto riders and guys like you guys, because it's just so dangerous. Like, we're riding little 50s out here, crashing into trucks. I can imagine you guys in supercrosses and like jumping off buildings. And like, I'm just like, it's a whole different world too when you fall off something that is that heavy and has that much machinery behind you. That's the biggest difference, I feel like. You fall off a skateboard, it's cool. You kind of hit the ground. You're not going as fast.
I feel like I see some shit from like Sheckler and like P-Rod and like Jaws, like doing like gnarly like two-story drops off apartment
Those guys
buildings,
are on a different level though.
But I feel like with skating, like those dudes are taking the gnarliest slams. So they'll slam 10, 15 times and keep getting up till they land that trick because they're that fucking stubborn. Yeah.
But it goes back to what you said too, and you've said it multiple times. Stick and ball, basketball, you're not risking your life for the sport. Like MMA, moto, skating, even skating, Sheckler jumps off buildings that are like he said, 5 stories high. Yeah. Like these guys are ridiculous. Yeah. So you guys are risking your life to do what you love. That's a whole different animal. I mean, I've never split my spleen in half and, thrown up blood that's black. Yeah. So like, I can't even imagine what goes through your mind when that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just like action sports in a whole, like the BMX guys. Dude, the BMX guys at X Games, like, and you watch and them in Nitro and stuff, they're ridiculous. They're doing like quad flips now and stuff. And
you see the size of their jumps now? Yeah, it's like a moto jump.
The dirt jumps, I'm like, dude, I don't know if I would. I mean, I would, but like, I wouldn't just look at those and hit them on a dirt bike like it's nothing. I would like kind of size them up a little bit. And those, they're doing double flip, tail whip, bar spins over them in one jump on a BMX bike. Like it's just action sports in general, just the whole X Games and then like moto racing, and it's almost out of hand now. Yeah. Like it's the tricks and freestyle is ridiculous. It's like, how do you even, there's no even where else to go.
They're like video game tricks.
It's ridiculous. Now. Like in whether it's anything, skating, BMX, moto, any of the X Games stuff nowadays is just fucked.
I'm so glad I don't have to ride contests anymore. Yeah. It's like, we'll go to demos sometimes. You hear the drunk dude sitting there drinking his beer. Do a double flip. Do a front flip. I'm like, no.
That's where it is now, though. It's
that's what they expect is normal.
It's casual. Like guys, they'll just go like throw casual double flips. Some of these guys, and it's like,
body varials. I'm like, dude, no.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy that's where like that. It's almost like it's getting so gnarly that it's like, is it gonna hit a limit to where it's like, okay, maybe we need to like make some like restrictions or something? Because like that's what I wonder about Supercross too. Is I'm like the bikes are getting so fast. For us, like if they start allowing Starks to race with us, which it's going to happen eventually,
those things are so fast.
An 80 horsepower bike on a Supercross track, like you'll be able to do a whole lane in like 3 jumps or 2 jumps.
If
like,
you have the balls like James Stewart does, you'll do the whole lane,
dude. It's ridiculous. So that's what kind of is weird in moto is like, or in racing, I guess, is like, are they going to start having to make some restrictions on the bikes or something? Because it's so for an outdoors, it's bigger, faster track. But Supercross, you're going to be jumping the whole rhythm in like 2 jumps eventually.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's gnarly too. It's like they always like try to build stuff to slow you guys down, but you guys find a way to make it quicker or go around it or go over it. You know, like every single time.
That's and I always hear this. I hear so much about the tracks used to be better whenever it was Ricky and Stewart and stuff, and that they don't build them like they used to. They don't because they can't. We will jump the whole track. We'll do the whole thing. Yeah. Like it's everybody talks about the whoop sizes and stuff now and how they used to be, and
now there's only 9. There used to be this many.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
dude.
Blah.
It's so. Me and my friend always send each other stuff. Of the other day, he sent me something from like 2008 of a set of whoops, and they were literally like this tall.
Yeah.
And everybody's everything used to be gnarlier. No, I think like everything is so gnarly today that it's
so gnarly, but you guys make it look easy, so they think it's not. It's not as gnarly looking because your guys' whoops now are this tall.
Yeah,
you know, like
they're
huge.
That's the best point. The problem is you guys are so good now.
Yeah.
You're making everything look easy. Like we're talking about tricks. Like tricks are so crazy. No, these guys are just that wild. They're willing to do it. You got guys like Kobe that are willing to just shoot to the sky. Like,
or it's like
not normal.
When you sit in the stands, the track looks easy as hell. Or you can say, I would do this, I would do that. But then when you go down and do track walk and you look at how bad it is afterwards, you're like, oh, whoa, this is a totally different track. Where it's like, Supercross should let all the fans do a track walk afterwards for all the dudes that are bragging to their chick, like, oh, I can do that. I'd smoke him. I grew up racing him. You know what I mean? Like, when you actually see the track, how gnarly it is, you're like, it's a totally different story.
Yeah, that's like when the first time I went to an X Games was I went to Minneapolis and I saw like the mega ramp.
Yep.
Dude, I was like, holy, these guys are, and then they're airing, and where I was standing in like the athlete like lounge or whatever, they were hitting the quarter and coming up to you. And it's so crazy, like just to
because
see
the athlete lounge there was like 6 or 7 stories high
and
already.
Then they're coming up and you just see them and then they disappear again. It was crazy looking. And that's what I feel like with any action sport, it's hard to like do it. It's hard to do it justice unless you're there seeing it. And even like you said, from the stands on a Supercross track, it's still different than if you're down there and you are actually on the track afterwards.
Yeah.
You can see everything. It's like, even I don't like walking tracks and stuff before or after the races. Like, I don't like it because you go down there and it's like,
it's intimidating.
How did I ride this? Like how you look at certain things and you're like, how is it even possible that for you to make it through this set of whoops or anything? And then, but you're doing it every lap. Like, I don't know. It's
I remember
weird.
showing up to contests all the time and like we would walk the course and I'm like, dude, that looks gnarly. But then it's like, when you look at it, when you're sitting on your bike with all your gear on, it looks completely different and way easier.
It's so weird. I don't know what it is. It's like, you're almost the same height as when you're sitting on your bike. But you're sitting on your bike. It's
like I got my armor on. I'm ready to go.
It's a different, like, I don't know if it's just like a mentality that it puts you in or whatever, but it's just different. When you're on the bike, it's not the same as when you're like, if you go stand in front of a jump or whatever and you look at it. Big. Yeah. And then you hit it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's just different.
You brought up an interesting point. What's your opinion on letting Starks and these like electric bikes race with like gas powered bikes and what the current state of moto is?
Well, that's what they would have to, I feel like there would have to be some sort of, that's now that we're getting into the electric bikes. That's why I brought up like having some sort of a limit, because the electric bikes, the thing's already faster than any gas powered bike it can be. So if you're gonna let it be in the in the 450 class or whatever, or the 250 class, then we have to have a horsepower limit. So if we're having a horsepower limit, then that should have to apply whether you're on e-bike or a gas-powered bike. So, but there's not a current horsepower limit or whatever. So that would just be interesting. Is I would feel like when they allow the e-bikes to be in the class, they're going to have to make a horsepower limit across the board. Because if they're just like, okay, well, e-bikes are limited to 50 horsepower for the 250 class. Well, then the people on the e-bikes will be like, well, why are we the only ones limited? Why isn't everybody else limited too? So they're going to have just like an across the board horsepower limit for 250 and 450 class. I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's if they're going to be, I don't feel like the Stark is in a place right now to where it would compete on a supercross track or on a track with any of the bikes. I feel like it needs to handle better. I feel like as a freestyle bike where like handling a whoop section, I mean, you're like, that's not as crucial. Like the handling, the suspension 100%. Setup's not as crucial. So you can run a Stark as a freestyle bike. That's, I feel like, the perfect use for a Stark right now. But from what I've kind of heard about Starks and stuff is like what I feel like would be tough is they don't have a clutch. Yeah. And you don't realize how much like a clutch slips in the whoops, like just da, 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 and how much your clutch slips around the track to get traction. Mm-hmm. Whereas a Stark, there is no clutch. So you're just, from people that I've talked to who have rode Starks and stuff, they just say that if it's a hard pack track or anything where you can kind of slip the clutch or whatever,
you don't have that that's technique not there. As you have like a normal bike.
So it's almost like scary that you don't know, which I mean that for a start, they could probably make some sort of traction control or something like that, which in form would
if it already doesn't have it.
Exactly. So I mean, that's why I say in time, it will be competing as well as the gas bikes.
I rode one. The dude brought them all out to my house a couple months ago, and we all went on a trail ride. And for me, the hardest part to get used to was not having my finger on the clutch, because like I always have my finger on my clutch and my brake for my balance. So like when I take that off, I'm like, kind of feels weird. Like I had no I don't know, it was weird. But the bikes are pretty rad.
Yeah, they look super super cool. I want to ride one just
to ride it.
Just to like. I just think it would be cool. I feel like one weird thing too would be like no noise. That would be super weird. Like one thing that would be super weird, like is if you have like a whole electric bike class and you're just able to like talk to each other.
Yell at each other.
That would be so weird to me.
Get out of the way, you dumbass. Yeah. You can't be revving on people like when people get in your way, you know, like.
Yeah, that would be so weird.
Do you yell at people now?
If it's like a lapper, and I'm coming up on him and I'm in like I got somebody behind me and this dude holds me up, even just like in a corner where it's like,
and you're getting past.
Yeah, then I'm yelling at him.
Really?
You have to pick your spot though, because if you just yell, they can't hear. You have to yell like as you're coming into a turn,
you're
and
decelling,
you're off the throttle, and then you can be like, yo.
Who talks the most trash while racing?
In racing? I think everyone's talking shit under their breath.
Yeah, everybody's saying.
But is there someone that's known for talking the most?
I don't know. Currently, I know that like back in the Ricky and James and those guys used to talk a lot.
J-Law.
Yeah. J-Law would. Yeah, J-Law would.
He would be pounding on the doghouse.
Yeah.
Dungy, I'm coming for you.
He would. Yeah. He would
try to get in everyone's head and stuff like that.
Oh,
too.
dude. Cooper likes to. I don't know if he talks like on the. Well, he probably does talk on the track, but Cooper does like to talk some shit from what I hear. I mean, he usually backs it up. So, but yeah, I heard like at one of I think it was the Salt Lake City round too, when everything was dead quiet.
Yep.
Because there was nobody there, and he was just like, "Boys, ready to fucking go?" To Tomac and like Roxon or whoever else was there. I love
that, dude.
And then Tomac's just nothing, total like. And I guess it was somebody was down there and they were like, it was so weird because it was dead quiet, and then Cooper's just like, let's fucking go. It's like, I don't know.
Cool. Is there anyone on the track like when you're on the line, you're like, fuck, I don't want to, or you hate coming up on, like anyone you hate racing?
Well, whenever trying to think guys that are like
politically correct question, and then it's like let me think about this real quick.
Man, fuck this. No, this guy says some stuff.
There's just guys who ride like a wide bike, like
cross jumping. Like I hate that stuff.
Yeah, like I think probably one of the worst guys I've came across is Mosman. He was always so bad to ride against, or like I mean he would just like guys that'll just randomly. The worst thing is whenever a guy comes up, like you gotta like bump in Supercross to get like you gotta cut guys off and stuff. But I don't know if you remember in Salt Lake City, like last year or 2 years ago when Barsha cleaned out Mookie, but he like blew him off the bike. That is what is you got to have a limit. So like when you're exiting the turn and somebody's coming in and you're like hitting like that
was gnarly.
That's too much. Like even a T-bone is considered like that's your guy's gonna be pissed.
I get a T-bone if you dirty the dude in the corner before.
Yeah.
But that was gnarly.
But that was past a T-bone. That was like right. It
was almost
there.
a head on.
Yeah, it's like, and you can do that in any turn. Like there's always that possibility. So it's just like the guys that'll do that stuff is the worst. It's like some guys that don't use their head when they're riding, and then afterward, you know what's the worst is I've raced guys that will do that to you, will just blow you out of the water, and then afterward be like, yo man, like I hope we're still okay. Are you good? Like I just want to come over and apologize. But then guess what? The next race, they will do the same thing. Yeah. It's like, don't come and apologize to me if you're gonna blow me out the next race too. Like,
I want to hate you. Don't come say sorry to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's like they'll come over and apologize, do the same thing to you the next race, and then it's a cycle. And I'm just like, dude, just
kind of like a Vince Freeze.
Yeah, just leave me alone. Like if you're gonna do the same thing to me the next race, then you're not really sorry for it. And I don't expect you to be. Like, you don't need to be sorry for it. You did it to beat me. And
just know I'm bringing one back to you.
Know
when
it's
I have
probably
a shot.
coming. Yeah, exactly.
Like in F1, you know how Verstappen will have someone, like obviously Red Bull will put someone on his team that will kind of work together as a team. And then you'll see like Ferrari will have a blowout because the team doesn't work together. I'm surprised like Supercross doesn't have it in that way where you kind of have like your second or someone that is like there to kind of protect you in a way. It's a weird concept, right? Because you all are kind of on factory teams. Yeah. Everybody rides for.
Yeah. I mean, it'll get to that point if you're late in the season. If it's like 2 races to go and you have a chance. Like I remember my rookie season, I think it was maybe Cincerillo or Savacci was like in kind of a championship hunt. And they told me, they were like, hey, if he comes up behind you, just let him by.
Yeah.
Like just don't put up a fight. So, but that's about as much as it is. It's kind of just like, hey, if he comes up behind you, let him by. It's not really like a, as strategic as like F1 is, which they have headset. I feel like at the end of the day, that's why it's not, is just because there's so much that goes into F1 and there's so much strategy, and with the pit stops and with everything, and they all have headsets so they can all talk and like make plans kind of on the fly and stuff, where once the gate drops, you're on your own.
Why don't you guys have headsets?
I don't know. Like I know there's been a lot of talk of it, especially as of late, which I don't know. I think it would be cool, but I also think it's cool when you're just out there doing your thing and you see a pit board that you got to look over and read. Yeah. It's kind of like a headset, but it's like, is there sometimes like when you're in a gnarly battle, like where you're not even paying attention to the pit board? I've gone
whole races without looking at the pit board.
Yeah, when you're just focused, you're good.
It's where they sit them, because sometimes they'll put them like going into a turn or right as you're coming out of a turn.
Yeah.
But the next turn could be before a whoop section, and you're looking at different lines because they're always changing, and you're looking at lappers, and you're looking at so much, or it's a rhythm, or there's a little double into the turn at it's
you don't
really
have time
just
to be all.
Yeah, it's really just where they put them, or if you're in a battle or whatever, or just what's going on. But I've gone almost whole races with barely looking at the pit board.
I've always wondered that.
Yeah. It's really just where they put the mechanics. Yeah. Sometimes they're in good places, sometimes they're in bad places.
With your last crash that you had, the gnarly one where you had to get brain surgery and everything, did you crash because of your contact fell out?
Yeah, Mike. Well, I get it. Definitely played a factor because I had my right one, which was my better eye. It fell out
halfway through the moto or something.
No, like probably like 6 or 8 laps in. So, and it was like an over 20 lap moto, I think.
And that track was gnarly and rutted and stuff.
It was gnarly,
right?
yeah. And that section where I crashed was the gnarliest section.
It was.
I hate those little double on off things that they started doing that I crashed on. They're weird. And we were going over that one, and my contact fell out. And I think after watching it back now, I think I know that I was I couldn't hardly see really. I was would get glimpses every now and then, but I couldn't really see anything. So my depth perception was all off. I was making it work though.
You were leading the race. Like you were
like
ripping.
I led like 12 laps with no contact or whatever.
Wasn't that just from coming back from being hurt too, or were you on the bike for a while?
I was on the bike for probably 2 or 3 months
before
that. So
it was still fresh.
Good enough. Yeah, it was fresh, but good enough. But that's kind of my whole career now.
Right? Like it's
fresh, but I'm good enough. I'll make it work. Yeah, that one, I think after watching it, I don't think because I remember now like thinking when I was riding, I was just expecting to grease everything.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, if I just need to be smooth.
You had your timing on point.
Yeah, I just need to be smooth, keep my timing good, and I'll be fine. Like I can't really tell exactly when that was the problem, is my depth perception was so off. I couldn't exactly tell when the bike was going to like hit the ground.
Yeah, you're just waiting to feel it.
I was waiting to feel it and then react to it. But that's the problem, is you can't wait and then react. You have to react before. Yeah. And that's what, whenever I clipped that, if I could have seen, I would have clipped that, I think, and been fine.
You would have pushed into it.
Yeah, I would have pushed into it or just braced for it. But I think that I couldn't see that I was going to come up short. And then when so I was still kind of in the air. Yeah, like almost every jump, you're kind of just taking like some sort of little, even if it's just like a split second, just little relax, let your hands off the bars a little bit. And that one, I think I just wasn't ready for the clip. And whenever I did, I think my hands were still a little light and it clipped. And then it kind of just jerked the bars, like the bar, or it got light. Like my hand kind of came up like that. And then the bike kind of fell away. So the bar came like that. And then it compressed again. And my hand just went like that. Dude. And then I compressed into the bars and then just got ejected. So it was, that's what I think happened, was that I just couldn't tell when I was going to hit or if I was going to come up short. And then by the time I did, and then I reacted to it, my hand had already blown off. And then I was before I even knew hardly what was happening, I was getting ejected off.
It was by far one of the gnarliest crashes I've ever seen racing. Like I got up and walked away from the TV. I was like, oh fuck. Like, and my wife was like, what happened? I'm like, Forkner just had the dirtiest crash ever. Like it reminded me of like Reed's crash at Millville. Yeah. When he flew off the bike and everyone's like, oh my God. Like,
yeah. I'm surprised, to be honest, they showed it. Like they replayed it and stuff. Cause usually when like somebody has like a scary crash, like somebody gets landed on or whatever, they kind of like, yeah, we're not really going to talk about this right now because we don't know how he is.
But it's kind of hard. You were leading, like you were going to win the race.
Yeah,
like.
True. So everything was on me, but yeah, they replayed it from that different angle from the back where you can see me like land right on my like neck upside down and then I'm just
when they did it, I was just like, I was tripping, and Sue's like, why are you tripping so bad? I'm like, that's like a career-ending fucking crash right there. Like, that's gnarly. Like I was like, oh my God, I had up gas right. I'm like, yo, let me know like what's wrong with them. Like I was tripping. Like
they G said that because some races they have concrete on the side, and some races they put dirt. If they just have dirt, they'll put some or whatever. And G was like, honestly, you're pretty lucky. He was like, if that would have been dirt there,
you think he would have stuck more?
Yeah, and
probably broke everything.
Yeah, broke everything because I broke the transverse processors in my back, like the
they're like just floating ones, right?
They're like the ears that stick off your back or whatever, the little tab things. They're not. If you're gonna break your back, they're the best thing to break in your back. They're the farthest from the spinal cord. But he was like the most injuries you see of people like breaking that, or like street bike accidents. You see it all the time of guys skipping across pavement. He's like, if you ever have an injury where you skip, it's like a high speed thing and you're skipping across like pavement or something. That's when you break those. Cause it's like I don't know. But he said you break your actual spine when you have like a hit, like a compress and then a twist. So he was like, if you would have hit on the, like if there were dirt on the side of the track and I would have stuck and then done my little like tweak like I did instead of I landed and kind of just skipped across the pavement. But if I would have went bang, stuck and then tweaked, he was like, you probably would have been.
That was a scary one to watch. Yeah. Like I remember like everyone in the house was tripping. Like
that one was, that one, it was, after watching it back, I was like, damn, I didn't see it. I didn't really have my phone. I didn't really know what was going on. I was concussed so bad until like the next morning, like right before we were about to leave the hospital, and I watched it and I was like, damn. Like I was like, holy.
When they showed the slow-mo of it, like right afterwards, that's when we're like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The slow-mo from the back where you can see how I land. Because where they were, I watched the race and where they were showing me from the side and you couldn't see how I impacted because I went behind like the it was
like the table, right?
Stands. Yeah, like the stands. It was the track was coming this way and then I disappeared behind the stands so you couldn't see how I actually hit. But the angle from the back where you can see me land and compress and stuff, and then my bike hits the concrete and
just makes it look even gnarlier.
Sparks go everywhere, and it's yeah. So it was chaos. That was probably the gnarliest crash I've ever had. That was bad.
What all did you end up breaking?
I did like my shoulder blade. I broke like my shoulder blade into like my shoulder socket. I did. I don't remember what like vertebrae it was. Really low. What was it? Maybe T7 and T8. Of the little processors. In my back, and then I was concussed for like I was out for like 5 minutes or something. Yeah, I was out for a while. They said because that's what Tony, my mechanic, was asking for like updates from our guy that's like in the stands. And he was like, hey, like, is he moving? And he was like, he's not moving. And then it's like, is he still moving? And it's like 3 minutes, the race is over. And he's like, is he moving yet? And he's like, he's not moving yet. And he was like, because they wouldn't let him down there, but he was like, I freaked out after that. And I just bolted. But
I bet.
Yeah. So that one, and then they let me walk off the track in a neck race.
I was tripping. I'm like, you'll see people have a tip over and they're like, nope, put him on the stretcher. And I'm like, wait, you're letting him walk off the track right now?
Yeah.
That was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
When you watch the replay, that part I don't get.
Yeah, I'm like, that was the gnarliest crash like in history. And then you let the dude walk away. I'm like, yeah, he's a fucking warrior. It looks gnarly. But I'm like, you see way less like crashes that aren't even half that bad. And they're like, nope, get on the stretcher. We're putting a neck brace on you. Like,
the problem is, in the shot too, the stretcher's right there in the back of the cart. It's right in the back of the cart. And they walk me past the stretcher to get into the thing. And it's like, they said it was because the doctors like called me afterwards and they were like, hey, are you good? Just checking in on me and stuff. And he was like, hey, so I'm just letting you know, we didn't put you in the stretcher because like you were saying that you didn't want to be put in the stretcher.
I said I don't want to be in a stretcher plenty of times and you put me in the stretcher.
I was like, okay. And I'm like, look, we're fine. Like it wasn't a catastrophic thing. It was fine.
I'm still good.
But I was like, look, if I would have broken like my spine and you would have let me walk.
Which you totally could have with that.
Yeah, you didn't like, I broke really close to my spine. I broke my back. Yeah. It just wasn't in my actual spine. But I was like, dude, if you guys like, I was like, look, we're good. Like nothing bad happened from it. We're good. But I was like, if I didn't say this, but I was like, if I would have actually broken my spine, I was like, I probably wouldn't be being as cool to you guys as I am.
Exactly.
Right now. Like if it would have been something where me walking could have potentially paralyzed me if I wasn't already paralyzed and that. So it ended up not being. You can't really get paralyzed from breaking what I broke in my back. It's far enough from the spinal cord that it pretty much can't happen. But
at the time, no one knew.
No,
what
you didn't know,
like,
and it's still and then come to find out I did break my back was like that was just like. We
were all tripping on that. We couldn't believe you walked away. We're like, oh, you're asking a dude that's been knocked out for 5 minutes if he wants to get on the stretcher.
Yeah,
and
like, I was like, dude,
doesn't even know where the hell he's at.
I was like, I probably said, get me my bike. I was probably telling me, I was probably wanting to finish the race. Yeah, I was like, I wasn't in my right mind, dude. I don't know.
Those types of concepts make no sense because like even a fighter, like in an MMA fight, they get knocked out and the last thing you want to do is try to stand them up. They're always yelling like, get him on a chair, leave him down, like obviously a fighter, you guys are warriors. You're obviously going to say, yo, don't put me on there or get me my bike. Like it's their job to make sure you're safe.
Yeah, dude.
It's the craziest thing to watch you walk away from that. I'm like, bro, then you find out like you did break your back. I'm like, well, he probably broke it walking.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't even broken yet.
That's what, dude, it's so gnarly when I see like fighters and stuff. Like I don't think especially if you've never been like knocked out before, you don't realize how much of like how like vulnerable you are after a concussion. Like as far as like, you don't know what the hell is going on. Like fighters after they get knocked out and then they have to like go stand and do the whole like this guy won or whatever.
Or they're trying to punch the ref.
That dude does. He's standing there and just lights are on, but no one is
just
home. Like you don't even know. It's honestly like, dude, get that guy back to the locker room. Why are you having this dude stand out here and lose just to show, just to show, hey, you lost.
Everyone
know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like he's just put some ice on it. Get him somewhere other than here right now.
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't want to be. He doesn't even know what's going on, and he's got people booing him or people like, I don't know. It's just like, dude, get this guy out of here. Like 100%. he doesn't need to be here. He doesn't even know what's going on. Lights are out right now. So.
100%.
How long after the crash and like you healed, like were they like they wanted to check your brain? Like how'd that come out?
Well, it was like right after. They were just doing CAT scans on my brain and stuff because I was out for so long, and they were like, okay, everything was good. I mean, you're obviously concussed, but no bleeding. Because I was like 100%, because I've had a brain bleed in the past. I was like, this one was gnarly. I was like, I bet I probably have a brain bleed. And I was like, if I have another one, that's not really.
It's gnarly when
bad.
You know that.
Yeah,
like.
I was like, I hit my head hard enough that before that, I'd only hit my head harder than probably that, or been out for that long one other time, and I had a brain bleed that time. So I was like, this is not. I was like, if I have another brain bleed, that's pretty bad. Yeah. So I was like expecting them to tell me that, and they were like, hey, your things came back, you're all good. They were like, honestly, your brain doesn't look that bad for being out for 5 minutes or whatever. And I was like, oh, sick, that's great. Then they were like, but you have something else in your brain, and I was like. Or they were like, we don't really know what it is. Yeah. They were like, it's a cluster of blood vessel type thing. And they're like, we're not really that level of like surgeons here, or we don't know enough about. He's like, but you need to find a specialist and get this checked out.
Yeah.
So I found a specialist, and or really, I was seeing some guys that just the medical unit referred me to just here in Southern California, and just a normal neurology place or whatever that just kind of is basic or just all around brain stuff. And they were like, we don't really know about this. They were like, you need to see a very, very specialist. Like they were a specialist. They were a brain specialist, but not this thing in the brain specialist, which I guess once you get into brain stuff, I guess it's so like specialized and everything that it's so that he was like, basically, I went from, I didn't know anything. They weren't telling me anything. I was training to get back to riding and everything.
I was trying to getting ready.
I was trying to do outdoors, and they weren't telling me anything. And I was just like, hey, and Mitch is calling me, hey, what's the deal? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I can't get a hold of the doctors. I'm not hearing anything. And then I think they were like trying to figure out, because they had me get more scans. And I think that it was like, they were trying to figure out like, hey, this doesn't look good. Is this like, doesn't look good because we don't know what we're looking at? Or is this like an actual, this doesn't look good? And then finally, I think that they figured out, they talked to some other more specialized guys, and they were like, yeah, that's not good. He needs to do something about that. So then they called me in, and I'm like, hey, I have an appointment with my doctor, to Mitch or whatever. I'm like, hey, I have an appointment with my doctor on like Monday. So plan on, if he says good, then maybe not Tuesday, but like Wednesday, let's be on the bike.
Yeah. You felt physically, you felt ready to go.
I'm good. Like shoulder's good. Shoulder was still a little bit sore, but back was good. Everything else. And I was fine for my concussion.
Yeah.
I passed all the like concussion tests and stuff that they had me do.
How long after the crash was that?
Probably 2 months. Yeah. 2.5 maybe.
Dude, that's a gnarly crash and to be ready to ride in 2 months.
Yeah. Like. So, and then I was good. And I went in, and I was like, and I walked in, and there were like 3 people in there, like 3 doctors.
You're walking in thinking like, sweet, I'm getting released. Like, they're gonna tell me it's all good.
I sat down, and I was like, I'm probably not getting released today.
Dude,
and he was like, nah, you just need to have a seat. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, this is serious then. And then
was Riley there with you?
No, she wasn't, because I was like, hey, I'm just running to the doctor. I think they're gonna release me. I'll be back in like 20 minutes. Yeah. Like whatever. And then I go in, and they're like, so we think. They were like just breaking everything down, and they were like, so yeah, we're not specialists, so you need to go see a specialist about this, and we'll help you find one but they were like, we think you need to, this is causing some tissue around this thing to die because it's not getting blood to it. So it was just like, it's called an AVM. It's a cluster of blood vessels in your brain that are just a cluster of blood vessels. Is
it from hitting your head so hard?
I don't think so. They said it's just a genetic thing. Yep. It's just like hereditary, but something's made it, because they said a lot of people, chances are if you've heard or know somebody who's had a stroke or a seizure or an aneurysm, a lot of the time, this is what causes it. So they were like, they get bigger and then they rupture. And if they rupture, that can it can kill you. It can.
Luckily, you did eat shit, so you could go get that
literally
figured out and get scanned. Honestly, like sometimes
honestly,
it's a blessing in disguise.
No, it
like,
was
straight up.
It was this time for sure. I was like, okay, that's why this happened then. Because if it hadn't, they told me afterwards, they were like, you were maybe could have been days away from this thing rupturing,
which is so gnarly because you're so young, like physically, like the best shape, like you know what I mean.
It's just, and that's what they said that a lot of people have these and they never have an issue. And if they said, if you never have an issue by the time you're 50, you're probably never going to have an issue. But they were like, if you have had an issue before, which I've had a brain bleed, and I think it was from this thing now, knowing about it. But at the time it was super, super like, they didn't even say really it was a problem because it was so small that but they were like, it must have grown since then or so. So who knows if it just got bigger just by on its own, or if concussions got it bigger, probably they were like, concussions are probably didn't help it anyway.
I got a few of those.
but it got bigger, and if it ruptures, it could obviously cause like a stroke or a seizure, which could have killed me or left me like as a vegetable or whatever. Or it was literally right behind my eye. Dang. So somebody like DM'd me on Instagram, and they were like, hey, I am blind now because I had mine rupture and it was behind my eye, and it blinded me. And then somebody else DM me the same thing, and they're like, hey, I have one, but it's so intertwined in my vision, like nerves, that they can't take it out because they'll blind me taking it out. Or they're like, there's like a 50% chance that they're gonna blind me taking it out. And they were just gonna go and cut me like right here and just go in and do it. It's a big ass.
Yeah, it's all the way across your forehead, right?
Yeah, but
it's actually a nice cut though because it's in your hairline. You can't see it.
Yeah, I know it's not bad.
Yeah,
I just shaved it because see this little patch of hair I have up the front right there. Like it. Whenever I had long hair, it looked like
you had a little just.
It looked so weird. Yeah, it looked so weird. So honestly, I'm probably gonna be.
She's like, put a hat on, baby.
Yeah, I know. She was like, that looks nice, and I was like, dude, let's just shave it. She's like, I don't want to shave, but I was like, dude, it's just shave it.
It'll all grow back.
Shave it.
Even. Yeah,
good. Shave it. No, so because all my hair was falling out on the scar too. Because I guess I
remember seeing like maybe you posted or someone posted something about it. I remember seeing. I was like, oh man, I'm like, that's a gnarly looking scar right there. Like
it was gnarly, but they. He said, because my scent or my smelling nerve was intertwined in mine. So he was going to just go in, cut it out. I mean, I say easy, but easy for him. But he was just going to do it that way. But he said he got in there and my smell was all intertwined. So he couldn't just cut it out because I would have woke up with no smell or taste.
Yeah.
And so he's
like, let's just cut his whole head open.
He did. No, that's what he explained it to me. He had to take the front part of my brain out, put it in a dish on the table, and cut and operate on it there, and then put it back in.
No way.
Gnarly.
I can't even think about that.
Did you get any photos or video of it?
No, I did. I wanted to so bad.
Anytime I have surgery, I'm like, can my guy film? Or like, can you get photos? Like something
I
have it?
I asked him, and I think I think it was such like a serious
no, dude,
surgery.
This is gnarly.
They were like, yeah, I don't.
Let's make sure you survive. We'll get your selfies later.
Basically. So they were.
Wait, how do they take a chunk of your brain out?
I don't know.
They just with the hand just pull it out.
Yeah, like what? Like is your brain already in compartments that they can just grab?
I mean, I think like it's divided into like, so you have like your back, and I know that there's a front and a left, front lobe, left. There's two lobes in the front, and mine was in the right. So I think that they just took the right like lobe, front lobe out. How do they reconnect all the cords? I don't know. I think that's
why they get paid a lot of money to figure that stuff out.
They put me in one of those like external fixator things that like if you break your neck, the things that screw into your skull to like keep your head stable. Because I had two staples, just one staple here from like a small cut, and I was like, what the hell is that? And they were like, we had to put you in like just to hold your head still while we pulled your brain out of your head,
basically. Nothing moving.
Yeah.
Like,
so
sorry, we put the left side on the right side, the right side on the left side.
Are you asleep through this whole thing?
Yeah. I was asleep.
There's no way I could be awake.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I was awake for the first, they did 3, I guess 2 procedures and 1 actual surgery. So they knocked me out, or I was awake for the first one. They ran they did an angiogram. They ran something up the artery in your leg all the way up in there, and they released some MRI contrast to get like a clear picture of it, so they could know if they needed to cauterize the arteries before they went in, and because essentially they're just cutting out this cluster of blood vessels. So they had to know so I don't bleed out or whatever. And they figured out there was one main blood vessel feeding it, like the blood. Mm-hmm. So then they just decided, okay, before I go in and to the actual surgery, I'm going to go see the same dude who did it the first time I was awake for it. Then whenever I went back, they were like, you're going to go see this guy first. He's going to go in the same way he did, and he's going to plug the main like artery.
Yep.
And then so it cuts off the blood, and then we're going to transfer you. You're going to be out the whole time. We're going to transfer you to the other dude, and he's going to actually go in and like cut it out. But it'll be way easier because it won't have blood flow, I guess, or something. So
it's so gnarly because it's like getting some screws or a rod put in. You're like, oh, it's nothing. But like brain stuff is like, that's gnarly.
That's what this was the first surgery probably since my stomach. But even then, I was stoked when I was getting wheeled into my stomach. So I was like, this hurts. I've been wanting. I know something needs to be fixed. I'm gonna feel better after this. But this was the first one that I was like I was like, okay,
I'm getting nervous just thinking about it. I'm like, dude,
I was like, this is going to be, and I didn't know how I was going to wake up either. Like every other surgery, I'm like, okay, obviously I'm going to be loopy and stuff. But then after a few hours, I'm going to be fine. I'm actually probably going to feel pretty good for the rest of that day. I'm still going to be on the drugs and everything. And then the next day or even 2 days later, after all the anesthesia wears off, I'm probably going to be in some pain.
It's hurting.
But that's every shoulder, knee that I've done, whatever. It's all pretty similar. But ahead, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel from this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to come out of this. I don't know how anything was going to work. So that was probably the most like just scary thing. Was just like, I don't know what's going to,
The feeling. How'd you feel then after?
It wasn't as bad as I thought I was going to wake up with just like raging migraines. And it really wasn't that. I slept for like the whole 2 days I was in the hospital. I was just basically asleep. They'd wake me up to eat a little bit or something. But I was basically just gone for like 2 days.
Is there recovery or rehab for a brain surgery?
No, not really.
You have to like relearn ABCs or anything?
For some people, like if you go into that part of your brain where you have to like learn things again. Yeah. But that wasn't, I guess, my case.
Crazy.
He said what was good about, I guess, the location is he's like the right frontal lobe of your brain is the most useless part of the brain. So he was like, if you're going to have a place to go in, like to have this, that's the best place for it. Cause we don't have to, if it was in the left, it would be a much more like gnarlier surgery. Cause there's, I guess, a bunch of other stuff in the left side, like nerves and stuff that control other things that he was like, it would be, if you nick one of those, he's like, it
can be bad.
Yeah. So he was like, the right part is, I guess, the safest, part of the brain to have, I guess, shit go wrong in. So
if you're gonna get fucked up, just hit the side of your head.
Yeah, I guess.
What a blessing though that you came out on top,
dude. I mean,
healthy, happy.
Yeah, if I hadn't had that done, I mean, hell, I could be dead right now. I don't know. Like, it's that was a risk, and that's what the doctor afterwards was like. You were kind of walking on borrowed time. Like he was like, once he got in there, I guess it was bigger than even he thought, and more of a problem. That he was like, I don't know how it didn't rupture already or rupture in the crash. Like, how did that not happen? So he was like, you were really close to having it rupture. And if it ruptured, could have caused a number of things. Stroke, seizure, aneurysm, maybe
which leads
wrecked
to more
my
problems,
blind, maybe, whatever, any of that stuff. So that would have just been gnarly.
What's the plan now? You have any, you have a plan on when you're trying to ride again?
Yeah. The 15th.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
already?
2 weeks.
Nice.
I'm going to start riding. That's whenever he originally had it planned for October 3rd, but because of how well I'm doing, he was like, I'll just bump you up. You just promised to ride like corner tracks and stuff. Just be easy for a couple of weeks.
No jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, whatever. And I was like, I have a plate in my head though. So like,
you do?
I can't feel like the whole top of my head. So
dang.
All basically like the size of my hand right here is all just a plate.
Yep.
So I can't, technically, I could probably headbutt the shit out of somebody right now, and I'd probably be okay.
If you ever go to get punched, just go like that.
Wolverine, then no helmet needed.
Yeah, I just headbutt the hell out of somebody. So I got a big ass plate right here. Basically, it was just to hold the loose piece of skull in because they had to go in and take my like cut a piece of my skull out to then take the brain out. I don't know, dude. The pictures of that would have been crazy. And I asked the doctor too, like I was like, so what did you? Because he planned on going in here, like I said, just a tiny, like a 2-inch long cut, but then he had to take the whole brain out. So I was like, what changed? Why did I wake up with just this big ass scar? Like, what did you, what happened? And he was like, well, I figured out we had to take the thing out. And I was like, so what did you like do? And he was like, well, I cut you. And then I just, that's what he said. He didn't say, he was like, I cut you. And then I just did that. So and I was like, so essentially you scalped me and peeled my face off. Yeah. And he didn't say that, but he was like, I cut you, and then I just
scalped and peeled.
You need to do like a graphic of like for he has a brand, his own brand, all fun. Yeah. You need to do like a cartoon graphic of like a doctor just holding your head open for like the graphic on the show.
That'd be the best-selling tea of the year.
It would be so sick. It would or like a Frankenstein tea or something. Yeah. Too, everybody's been saying, oh, you're Frankenstein now because I have a big ass scar across my head. And so that's that would be sick to that would actually be a good one. I'm thinking about it. That would be cool.
You need to say all fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Twitch is your new lead designer, dude. For all fun.
For real. That would be sick. I'll actually think about that.
That would be a good shirt, dude.
Dude, like a cartoon of like, it would even be sick of like a cartoon of some dude just like really like peeling your skull, like fighting to peel your head apart or something. Rad. That would be sick.
If I have a dude that does stuff like that, that's really good.
That would be sick.
That's actually perfect.
That'd be a good tattoo idea too. Yeah. I would get that as a tattoo.
You need that as a tattoo.
Yeah.
100% you need that.
Yeah, I'll get that.
The tattoo artwork can go on the tee.
Yeah. I'll get something like that done for sure.
So you start riding here in like what, a week or two?
Yeah, the 15th. So it's like 2 weeks, I think.
So. Do you have a ride for next year still?
Right. I'm in contract negotiations right now. So I have multiple offers. I'm really just waiting on offers though. I'm waiting on official contracts to come through and then kind of make a decision on that. But either way, I'm going to start riding in a couple weeks.
Sweet.
And then I start on corner track stuff. Obviously, I probably won't even touch a supercross track till like the end of October or the end of October, probably. I won't even touch a supercross track, but that's what I feel like. I'm pretty much over it now, but that's what I feel like, that I couldn't have touched a supercross track for the rest of this season. Even if I did come back, I mean, I wasn't going to come back for a supercross, but there was at first, whenever we figured out, okay, I'm okay. There was at first talks of coming back to supercross, but I was like, honestly, I don't think I could come back to supercross right now. I want to go ride outdoors just because I feel like I would have just PTSD from supercross. Like I would get back on a supercross track and all I would think about was crashing again. Yeah. Like just, I don't know. There was just something that I was just like, an outdoor track I think would be better. Just, it's more relaxed. It's just different. And I was like, I just feel like supercross, it's too soon right now. Like now, and by the end of October, I should be fine. But at the time, whenever I was talking about coming back and doing like the last 2 supercross races or something, I was like, or the team was asking me that, or people were asking me that. And I was just like, dude, I think I'm going to have like PTSD about it. And that
was a dirty one.
Yeah. I don't really ever have like stressful. I mean, you're always fighting demons of some sort to if over past crashes or whatever. Yeah. But this one, I was like, I'm getting a little bit. I don't think I'll enjoy that right away. So
you're still gonna ride 250s next year,
yeah? Yeah, next year 250s, and then possibly 450s the next year. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting on the official contracts to come back to get everything. But
I want to see that Lights Championship.
I know
you've been so close. I know so many times.
Dude, I just want a full season. Just give me a full season. Like if I can get a full season, then I know that I'll be a championship contender. Exactly. Whether I end up first, second, third. That's what. If I can just make it a full season, I'll be top 5, if not top 3, probably almost every single race. Yep. And if you're top 5 or top 3 almost every race, you're just gonna be a championship contender.
Just being consistent.
Like you're just gonna be up there. So that's what. Like, just give me a full season, and if you can give me a full season, I mean, I'm willing to bet a lot that I will be a championship contender, whether it's first, second, third, whatever. But you can give me a full season, I will be consistently up there. Yeah, I'll probably have my bad races or whatever, but I feel like I'll be a championship contender just by making a full season. I'll be a championship contender. So that's what I'm shooting. I just give me a full season and I should be up there where I want to be.
Yeah.
So
you have any more film projects coming up with Gas at all?
Well, we're just waiting for when I can ride, really. And then when I can ride, the first ones won't really be that entertaining. It'll be just me riding a turn track or whatever. But people will be stoked to see it.
Exactly.
So yeah, we'll still probably like resume, I guess, the all fun videos or whatever on YouTube. But
everyone's gonna be waiting to see that.
Honestly, the first one will probably be me riding a corner track, but it'll probably blow up just because everybody's waiting to see me ride.
He's back on the bike.
He's back on, and I'm doing a 30-second corner track.
Yeah.
So, but we'll probably do some stuff. And then it's kind of how it's been. I feel like everybody who follows the channel and everything knows kind of the whole coming back from injury process. The videos just get gnarlier and gnarlier as we start to get back into it. They're going to start off on a corner track, then they're going to go outdoors. Then I'm going to start to get nasty on an outdoor track and feel really good. And then I'm going to go to a supercross track, and then I'm going to get nasty on a supercross track. So that's kind of just the way that it's going to
evolve to that.
The rehab. That's where it's going to go. So
that's rad. Hell yeah.
I love the fact that you can own your own media channel, kind of own your own narrative.
Yeah.
What you want to put out there. It's kind of cool. Do drops with your videos, do whatever you need.
Yeah.
That's such a good concept that athletes can own their own space now.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I guess in the moto world, it's shitty that I feel like we have to kind of do that.
Yeah.
Because like the money's not as good as everything else, but as the stick and ball sports, I guess. But I feel like that's kind of being a good second form of income, I guess, for moto is like doing stuff like that.
And I feel like you connect with your fans more because it shows more of like your style, what you're into, what you wear, what you do. You know what I mean? Like you're a big gun guy, like you like guns. Like it's just, I feel like you can just get in with your fans way more.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because that's actually a good point. Sure. I didn't think about that because whenever I kind of had a lot of, I feel like since we made our All Fun YouTube channel or whatever, and we started doing the videos, I feel like I've gotten a lot bigger fan base because I feel like before that, like I'm not a huge like social media dude. Like I'll do stuff and but I'm not gonna post all these, and I'm not gonna be the typical YouTube guy that's hey guys, welcome to the video,
and
or put on a
like,
face, put on a facade. That. I hate that, and me too. I hate that. So I just like I have my bad days and I have my good days, just like, and that's what I feel like. Before we had the YouTube channel is. People only saw me as racing or on race day when I'm like focused and when I'm not, like people didn't see me so much as a normal person. So I feel like a lot of people either loved me or hated me.
They don't
Maybe
understand
they still
that
do.
They don't see that side of you. Like, oh, he's super cocky. It's like, well, he's there to do a job. He's getting paid to go win. And you have to be a little cocky to be in that position. Yeah.
And that's what I feel like now. I get so many DMs now that are just like, hey man, like I used to not be a fan, but after seeing like the YouTube videos and seeing like just the more like, cause I don't really post anything anymore unless it's like, just a genuine, or just being just genuine, just whatever. And they were like the realness of you and you, and even on practice days, like if I'm having a bad day, like I'll be like, yes, get the fuck out of my face, basically. You know, like that's just that's how it that's realness where
the fans like to see that because they're like, oh, I would be pissed off too. I'd be telling them to get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
you know,
that's like I remember one of the days I was riding and I like 2 to go. I was having such a great moto, like one of the last full motos I did before we went racing, and like two laps to go, I cased this rhythm section and bounced off the track. I didn't fall, but I just bounced off the track, and I was like, I was so pissed because I was like, in a race I would have hit a tough block and I would have went down. So I was just and I was having such a good moto, and I was so pissed. And then afterwards, I'm like, gas. Don't even like you can film me, but I'm gonna be pissed.
Just
like
get the fuck out of my face.
Just I'm gonna be that's how it's gonna be. But that's cool because that's like when I watch videos and stuff or when I look at people or whatever, then that's what I look for is the genuine things that anybody can. And that's what I've heard about a lot of other YouTubers being out here in California. There's YouTubers everywhere, but that's what
everywhere you look.
That's what I've heard about other like famous YouTubers is that they're almost socially awkward off camera, is that their whole personality they've built up is just an on-camera thing. And as soon as they put the camera away, it's almost like
different person.
They're completely different. It's almost like they don't know how to be that person.
They don't
anymore.
have people skills.
Yeah,
they have camera skills, but not people skills.
They're only the person that they portray on the camera nowadays, and not off the camera. So that's what I'm like, dude. I'm like, when me and Gas were talking about doing this, I was like, that's fine. We can do it. But just know I'm probably going to have bad days. And when you're going to film me, and the video is probably not going to be all that great because I'm going to be pissed off, or I'm going to be dealing with this or that. But that's just how it is.
I feel like people have more respect for that because it shows it just shows more emotions. It shows how hard you work for something. And yeah, if you're working your ass off and you're doing really good and you make a mistake and you get mad, it shows how much you want it. Yeah. And I feel like it's so much more relatable.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, the YouTube characters, they're characters, right? It's like acting. I work with some of the biggest ones on the planet.
Yeah.
And one of the things I respect most about Twitch is this guy could put out videos every day on his channels, his program, his socials, but it would be forced. And he's the first one to say, if I don't have good content to put out, I ain't putting out anything.
Yep.
And that's why people resonate with him. That's why he's such an OG of culture. That's why people resonate with people, right? Because they understand the authenticness comes from the rawness, the realness.
Yeah.
People think authenticness comes from like, oh, I always got to put out stuff. I always got to be true to the social channel. Like, no, being authentic means you do what is best for you.
Yep.
But at a time, you're giving the audience the best version of you because you're just putting out the most realist thing.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest problem right now in the social landscape is everybody's it's becoming very fake.
Yep.
It's very like, oh, I spent $1 million to swim with sharks. And, I raced the fastest car in the world. It's like, there's only so much of that type of content that starts to turn into garbage viewership, garbage reception, like the interaction between you and your audience.
It's people forcing content.
Yeah, it is.
Nothing.
It's garbage. You see right through that.
Does nothing for you. If I go watch a video of Twitch and his friends, I know I'm going to watch something fun. It's them really hanging out, him throwing a beer at someone's head. Like it's, whatever he's doing, he's going to do in real time and show us. And then that's why he put it out. It's not forced.
Yep. That's where I feel like YouTubing is going nowadays and stuff it's everything has to be so outlandish because everything else has already been done before, going in, let's go jump off a 100-foot cliff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this guy jumped off a 200-foot cliff. Okay. So we got to go do 300 foot. We got to do 400, like just
tricks and moto.
Whatever. Yeah. it's so outlandish nowadays. It's who can drive the coolest, fastest supercar, who can do this, who can do that.
Yep.
But then it's like, okay, like, I don't get a lot out of watching those videos.
No,
I feel
me
like
neither.
so it's just,
to me, they're not relatable. I'm not going to go spend $100,000 to go do this just to film a video where I'm like, if something happens, it happens. If we film it, we film it. If we don't, we don't.
That's on the same way.
Nothing forced in it, and then everything grows better. Yeah. Even like with these shows and everything we do at JAXXON, like everything was like, if we're going to do moto, I love watching moto. I love watching freestyle. Like we need to work with someone who speaks that language at the highest level and is at the highest level. That's the partnership with Twitch was perfect, easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, pick the guest you want to talk to. I'm not going to go get you some random YouTuber. Like I love Jake Paul, but he ain't going to sit here and talk to Twitch about moto. Like Jake, we can take you to Glamis and see if you could drum one of these Polaris razors. And that's about it, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what people want. Like, you got to be real about it. And as society changes, because everything is going to become so much more who could beat the last video views, who could do the last craziest stunt, you got to stick to some sort of narrative and code.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of like, because I think that with the big time YouTubers is they get caught up in that so much that then eventually they're like, dude, what am I even making content over anymore? Like that's what I see a lot is they get so spun out that they're just view chasing, and guess what gets the most views is all the craziest videos. So they just keep going crazier and crazier, and then they run out of crazy almost. And it's like just go back to basics.
They all end
like
up taking like a hiatus. Like
Yep.
they don't know what to do. Their creative is gone. They're like, well, I've already spent $1 million this year on YouTube. Like, what are we gonna do now? And it's like you see them like get so depressed and so bummed where I'm just like, that's because people are forcing so much shit and there's so much expectations on it where it's like it's not real.
Yep. That's
100%.
Yep.
So I appreciate you for coming on the podcast, and obviously Twitch set this all up. So it's awesome to hear about the story. Awesome to see you get back on a bike. Yep. What is the relationship like? You have a wife, a girl. You have some exciting news. You have stuff going on. Mm-hmm. Does that work as motivation for you going into the season and to what you got going on as a career?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking that now just already knowing. So yeah, my chick's pregnant. And my wife, I guess I always say chick, and she always gets pissed about that. But my wife is pregnant, and I guess just I almost think that it in a way it might help with the racing because I'm already thinking like, okay, but I know that whenever we actually have the kid, then it's gonna put it in perspective that there's more to life than just racing. I feel like racing is so important to me right now. And when I line up, it's like, if I don't I have to win this race.
I have
to. Yes, I have to. And then I feel like whenever, we have the kid, it could change that mindset. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking that it could be just because I'm already from us just knowing that we're gonna have a kid. It already kind of has changed things a little bit into, okay, well, I could, I guess, do this quad, which might win, but I might crash, and I kind of need to go back home. Like, I need to go back home to this kid, or like whatever. So I feel like that's gonna change things a little bit for me. And maybe I'm hoping in a better way. I'm hoping that it takes it to where racing's not the only thing that I have, basically. Like there's and it's not, but I'm just thinking that I'm not saying that racing is all I have, all I think about. It's not, but I'm thinking that it'll put in perspective, like, hey, there's so much more to life than just racing. And guess what? If you don't win this race, everything's going to be fine. If you get 4th this race, if you get 3rd, if you get 7th, it's going to be okay. We're going to move on. So in a way that could help, just the less pressure could, take the pressure off of me. And then if I'm not thinking that I'm in a have to win, a must win situation, I could ride better. Sometimes I ride better when the pressure's off, when I'm just like, hey, just go out. If I just go out and just ride a dirt bike, like I know how to ride a dirt bike, if it's just simply that, if there's no championship on the line, no bonus money on the line, no anythings that matter that are on the line, just go out and ride your dirt bike. I'm pretty damn good at it. So I feel like whenever I just do that is the best. So in thinking, and you would think, oh, we'll just do that every time, dude. When you line up on the gate, the flames are going off, the crowd's going crazy, they're announcing your name, you start thinking, you get in your head, and it's hard. In every sport, whenever the lights are on you and everybody's looking and it's getting game time, that's whenever you start thinking.
You're like, I trained my ass off. I'm ready for this. I'm going to smoke all these dudes right now.
Yep.
I think having a kid, I had a kid at a young age. Like my first daughter, I was 19 years old and I was going down the wrong path. So thank God I had a kid when I did, and it being a daughter. But I think for sure it's exactly what you said. You start thinking, you're like, it's not just about me anymore. It's like you have people you want to get home to see. There's other things. It's like, I remember when I started going to contests, I didn't care. I always wanted to be a podium guy, but it wasn't the end of the world. But before I had kids, that's all I could think about. It's all I wanted to do. I would risk anything to go win. And I feel like it just matures you just enough to where you can still be cocky and still be a badass, but then you're still I'm gonna go home and go see my family. You know what I mean? It grounds you.
And that's respectable too. Where people are gonna talk. People talk shit all the time, whatever. But it's you got to be everybody. You got to be willing to want it. You got to want it more than this guy, or want it. You got to live, breathe dirt bikes. You got to only be. But it's dude, I got a family.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool too. And most people are gonna be like, yeah, okay, fair enough. You do have a family, and you do have this is essentially your job, and yes, you love it and stuff. But you got to think about your family too sometimes. And
half those dudes that are in your ear going this is what are they doing? You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
They're not there to further your career anyways.
No.
Exactly. So I do appreciate you coming to the JAXXON house. I do appreciate you sitting down on the JAXXON podcast. Congrats on getting back on the bike. It's exciting to watch you back on the bike. Excited to see some new YouTube videos for sure.
I'm stoked. Cool. Thank you guys for having me on.
And where can everybody check out your brand?
It's just all fun on YouTube. And then we have an Instagram page, all fun brand as well. Or you can just follow me, Austin Forkner, on Instagram or whatever, and then you can find all the links to all my other stuff. I'm always posting stuff or links to other things. I think I have the All Fun page in my bio or whatever. So you can find everything from just my Austin Forkner Instagram page. You can pretty much find everything from there. So
I love it. Twitch, another good episode in the books. Make sure you guys go check out the rest of his content. Make sure you guys go check out Twitch's brand, DBK. We also just dropped brand new chains on JAXXON.com. And make sure you guys leave a comment and let us know who you want to see next on the JAXXON podcast.